Good morning, students. I am Raghunanda, your physics madam. So, today I'm going to give you a brief introduction about your BSc first semester physics syllabus, and also I am going to explain you about the first session of the first chapter, that is frame of reference. Students, you will be having 6 chapters for your BSc first semester syllabus. So, in which all these topics are related to mechanics, in which the first chapter is laws of motion, second chapter is momentum and energy, third one is dynamics of rigid body, fourth one gravitation, fifth chapter which you are going to study is what you call elasticity, and sixth one oscillation and relativity. So all these topics, most of the topics you are very familiar with. So you have already studied most of the topics at your PUC level, but here in BSc you are going to study in deep of all these topics. Now the first chapter is laws of motion. So in which the first subtopic is frame of reference. Some of you may have an idea about a frame of reference. Some of you may not have. Now, before knowing about what is meant by frame of reference, let us know some of the facts related to motion. Students, as you all know that universe is dynamic in nature. Everything in this universe is in motion. Stars are moving around the center of the galaxies, planets are moving around sun, and other planets which are moving around the other stars. So like this, in this universe, if you see everything, it is in motion. So that is why we can say that universe is dynamic. Now, in order to predict the motion of any object in this universe, in order to describe the motion of any object around you, so you need to refer something. You need to other objects around it in order to predict its motion. Isn't it? When the object is said to be moved, or when the object is said to be exhibiting motion, when it changes its position with respect to time, and when it changes its position with respect to the surrounding objects, then the given object is said to be in motion, or it is said to be moved from one place to another place. So without referring to something, you cannot predict whether the object is moved or not. Hence, every motion that we observe in the universe is a relative motion. It is not an absolute motion. Absolute motion is something which is observed with respect to a fixed point, to a fixed coordinate axis. But in this universe, we cannot fix any coordinate system which is at absolute rest. Hence, as everything is moving, the observed events in this universe are only relative. So we will learn in detail about this concept of relative nature of the motion later with the help of so many examples. Okay. Now, what is absolute? So here I have used one word, that is absolute. What is absolute and what is relative? So they are both the opposite words, isn't it? Absolute nature of some physical quantity means it is going to be invariant in all the conditions or situations. It will remain invariant. It will not change its value. with respect to time or with respect to place where it is. So under all the conditions, its value remains the same. Such a quantity is known as an absolute quantity, whereas relative quantity, it changes its value with respect to the place, with respect to the time. So such a quantity is called as relative. Next, let us come to motion of an object. So when do we say that an object is moved? An object is said to be in motion if it changes its position with respect to its surroundings and with time. So we have seen so many objects moving around us every day, isn't it? So the gases of molecules of gas, they are moving in the gas, in the container containing gas above 0 Kelvin, and all the planets revolve around sun. Moving cars, buses, trains, cricket ball, etc. All these kinds of motions every day we watch, isn't it? So an object is said to be in motion when it changes its position with respect to other objects surrounding it and with respect to time. When the object is said to be at rest, when the object does not change its position with respect to its surrounding objects and with respect to time, then the object is said to be at rest. This concept of rest and motion, they are the relative terms. Means without referring to something, we cannot say whether the object is moved or not. We need to refer some reference object or reference point in order to predict the motion of any object. That is why it is said that the motions of the objects that we watch every day, they are the velocities of the objects in the background of slow moving objects. So if in the background slow moving objects are there, in that background we are observing the motion of some objects. Why we are saying it like this? Because every object in this universe is in motion. So we cannot have a point or an object which is at absolute rest in this universe. Hence, we can perceive the motion of any object in the background of slow moving object. So like this, we can say that motion is relative. Now, if we come to the types of motions, so we are going to give so many examples through which you can confirm that motion is relative. Later we will see it. Before that, let us know about the different kinds of motions that are observed. So if a particle or an object moves in a straight line, then such a motion is known as, if it moves along a straight line, then such a motion is known as the one-dimensional motion. Why it is known as one-dimensional motion? It requires only one reference axis in order to describe its motion or in order to fix its position. So that is why it is called as one-dimensional motion. Here you can see this bus is moving along a straight line or along a straight path, which is an example for one-dimensional motion. It requires only one reference axis, say X. Now, what is the other kind of motion? That is two-dimensional motion. The motion of the objects on the plane or a surface is known as two-dimensional motion. So a football moving on a ground, a boat moving on a surface of water. So they are all the examples for two-dimensional motion. Now here, in case of two-dimensional motion, you require two reference axes in order to describe the motion of this object. Hence it is called as two-dimensional motion. Now another kind of motion is the three-dimensional motion. So here in three-dimensional motion, so the object which is moving in space is an example for three-dimensional motion. Here, in order to describe the motion of the object exhibiting three-dimensional motion, we require three reference axes which are mutually perpendicular to each other. Then only we can describe its velocity. Then only we can predict its exact position. When we take three reference axes, that is why it is known as three-dimensional motion. So example for one-dimensional motion is an object moving along a straight line. Example for two-dimensional motion, as I have told, so a football or a ball moving on a ground and a boat moving on the surface of water, or a zigzag motion of some object on a surface. So all these are two-dimensional motion, and the projectile motion is also a two-dimensional motion. So example for three-dimensional motion are an aeroplane moving in space, a bird flying in space. So all these are examples for three-dimensional motions. Once again we can give an example of one-dimensional, two-dimensional and three-dimensional motion. This car is moving along the x-axis, so it need only one reference axis to describe its motion. Hence it's one-dimensional motion. And a free falling object under the action of gravity is also a one-dimensional motion. It requires only one reference axis here. So here the ball is exhibiting the projectile motion. So this is in the XY plane, isn't it? So hence it is also an example for two-dimensional motion. A bird flying in the space is an example for three-dimensional motion. So how this one-dimensional motion is described, how the position and velocity of one-dimensional object is given with the help of only one reference axis, that is x-axis. So initially the object is here, it moved some distance along this axis and the final position would be this much. Hence we can calculate the velocity as well as the final position if we know the value of x. So here if the object is in a plane, then we need two reference axes in order to give the exact location of this. Just we can say if we can say that it is x distance away from y distance away from this axis, then we can give the position of the object along this line anywhere, isn't it? It is at a distance of x, if we say, so we can put that object anywhere along this line, isn't it? But if its x value as well as both y's values are known, then we can exactly locate this ball here itself. So we need two reference points or reference axis in order to give the exact location of a object which is in the plane. Now if the object is in space, then we require three reference axis in order to give its exact position. Now, as I have told earlier, that motion is relative. So we are going to let us be clear about this concept of relative nature of motion with the help of some examples. Now you can observe here a person is standing on the ground and there is a moving platform on which the person is moving with a velocity v. The platform is moving with velocity capital V. Now for the person who is standing on the ground, the velocity of this person would be the sum of the velocities of the platform and the person itself, isn't it? So he is observing the velocity of this person to be equal to V plus V, but the actual velocity is V. The platform, because he is standing or walking on the moving platform, this person is observing the velocity of this person to be equal to V plus V. Suppose that this person who is standing in the or on the moving platform, he is playing a ball. Okay, he is throwing ball upward and downward. For this person, the direction or path of the ball would be straight line like this. It goes up straight and comes back in his hand straight. But for this person, the trajectory of the ball would be a parabola, because initially the ball was here. He is observing the man is moving in this direction. He observes the ball is moving also in this direction, and he observes that the trajectory of the ball is a parabola. So from this example we can conclude that motion is relative. Motion will be different for different kinds of observers. Now here also you can see that the speed of the passenger with respect to the ground depends upon the relative direction of the passengers and train's speeds. So assume that here a person is standing on the ground. This train is moving with a speed of 15 meters per second. The person here in the train is moving with the speed of 1.2 meters per second. Then the person on the ground observes the velocity of this person to be equal to 16.2. That is the relative velocity which adds up together, isn't it? If this person is moving in the opposite direction to that of the motion of the train, at that time the relative velocity observed by this person would be the differences of the velocities of the train and the person inside the train. That would be 13.8 meters per second in the opposite direction of the train, means it is minus 13, sorry, not minus, plus only. So here it is not the sign. Okay, next, assume that there are two cars which are moving in the same direction. Car A, car B, both are moving in the same direction with velocities VA and VB. The person who is sitting in car A observes the person who is sitting in the car B. He observed the velocity of this car to be equal to how much? VA minus VB. Whereas the person who is sitting in this car observes the velocity of this car to be is equal to VB minus VA. Not the actual velocity, but they observe the relative velocity, which is the difference between the velocities of the two cars. Assume that now the cars are moving in the opposite directions. They are approaching each other with the speed of VA and VB. At that time, what would be the observed velocity of the car for a person sitting in one of the cars? It would be at that time VA plus VB. The cars are observed to be approaching each other with a very high speed. So you might have observed in your daily life, if you're in a bus, if another bus is passing through your bus in the same direction as that of yours, at that time it appears to be slowing down. Whereas the bus which is approaching from the opposite direction is observed to be passing your bus very, very quickly, isn't it? So that is why you're observing the relative velocity at the second case to be equal to the sum of the velocities of the two vehicles. Now, as we came to know that motion is relative, in order to predict the motion of any object, we need some reference point or some reference coordinate system fixed to the reference object. ಯಾವ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿಗೆ ನಾವು ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವೋ ಆ ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿಗೆ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಕೋಆರ್ಡಿನೇಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಕು. ಎದಕ್ಕಾಗಬೇಕು? ಇನ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಟು ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ದ ಮೋಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಎನಿ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ or in order to locate the object. Such a coordinate system fixed to the object of reference in order to predict the motion, in order to predict the exact location and in order to predict the in order to predict the motion of the object is known as frame of reference. So how frame of reference is defined? Frame of reference is a coordinate system fixed to the object of reference with respect to which we can predict the exact location of the particle and we can also describe the motion of the particle. Why? Because motion is a relative quantity. We need some reference coordinate system in order to describe its motion. Such a coordinate system is known as frame of reference. So in order to give the precise definition of this frame of reference, we can say that to fix the position of the moving object relative to the chosen object of reference, it is convenient to have a coordinate system fixed to the reference object. Such a coordinate system is called frame of reference. Or a frame of reference is a coordinate system with respect to which the position of the particle as well as motion of the particle is described. The simplest form of frame of reference is a Cartesian coordinate system. So here you can see here in this Cartesian coordinate system we will take three axes which are mutually perpendicular to each other with respect to which we can give the position of any event or position of any particle very easily. Now, what else we came to know in this class? We have learned that everything in this universe is in motion. Hence, we can perceive the motion of an object only in the background of slow moving objects. Motion is a relative quantity. Rest is a relative quantity. So without referring to something, we cannot say an object is whether the object is moved or not. As the motion is relative, we require some reference coordinate system in order to give its exact location or in order to describe its exact motion. That coordinate system is known as frame of reference, which is always fixed to the object of reference. Now, after knowing about the definition of frame of reference and the concept of relative nature of motion, let us solve some of the examples. So, find the velocity of a train A relative to train B. How they are? They are approaching each other with 80 kilometers per hour and 110 kilometers per hour. You have to calculate the relative velocity of these trains. The next example is relative velocity of these two trains. So one train is moving. These two trains are 40 kilometers apart from each other. This train is moving with a speed of 80 kilometers per hour This train is moving with a speed of 130 kilometers per hour. How long for B to catch A? How long it will take for B to catch A? That you have to identify. You note down this problem and try to solve this problem and put it in the Google Classroom. Thank you.